I love this. This is... Oh, that's so hard. That's so hard. I think I'm in love with this man. I think I'm in love because... Kia ora and welcome. My name's Stevie and I'm your vocal coach for today because we're going to be taking a look at Sal da Vinci with Per Sempre Si. I'm very excited. I've never heard this song before in my entire life. Let's get straight to it. Let's see what he's up to with his vocal technique, how he's creating these sounds, and how you can make them. Check out Italia. Oh, no, wait, sorry. Sanremo. No. Yeah, sorry, they were at Sanremo, but it's Italia. Oh, before I get to the video, you do me a huge favor and hit that subscribe button. I'm a full-time singing teacher, and it really does help me to grow my channel so that I can spend more time with you here talking about vocal technique, which I love. Mwah, 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 mwah. Grazie, grazie.
Cominciato tutto quanto dal principio, io che per te ero solo un uomo sconosciuto, poi diventato re dal cuore innamorato, tu una regina ora vestita in bianco sposa.
I love this. I am so excited. Italy is taking us back in time. I'm excited to hear his singing today. So they've got lots and lots of thyroid, so da 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 da. Obviously in my voice, I sing an octave higher than him, so singing down that low is quite low for me. But we've got a chest voice, quality thicker vocal folds with lots of thyroid tone. Ba da 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 da. That's what makes it the biggest difference between speaking and singing.
Cominciato tutto quanto dal principio, io che per te ero solo un uomo sconosciuto, poi diventato re dal cuore innamorato, tu una regina ora vestita in bianco sposa, abbiamo sognato figli in una grande casa.
You can hear that vibrato coming in there. Now, the vibrato is created when we have the correct amount of breath pressure underneath the vocal folds, as well as thyroid tilt. And thyroid tilt, as I said before, is when, so the vocal folds live here inside the larynx, and the top part of the larynx is called the thyroid, and when it tilts forward it creates a stretch on the vocal folds, and that's what we need for the vibrato to come through. You're going to hear that warmth to the voice that's telling us there's lots of thyroid tilt.
Abbiamo sognato figli in una grande casa e superato tutte le difficoltà, perché un amore non è amore per la vita se non affrontato la più ripida salita, e si accenderà la musica e qui ti aspetterò il più grande giorno di...
I love it. I love it. I love it. I am very curious, and I'm just going to go and check because he sounds like he's got a slight cold. So by the looks of it, he didn't have a cold during this time, but we are hearing just a little bit of that crackle in that lower chest voice register. So I'm not a doctor. I'm not his doctor. Sometimes that can come around just due to overuse. But I can really tell that Sal has had a very long career. He's a very experienced performer. So we're just going to leave it as it is. There's a little bit of that rasp in the bottom part of the range. Let's just go back on that.
Amore non è amore per la vita se non affrontato la più ripida salita, e si accenderà la musica e qui ti aspetterò, il più grande giorno ti regalerò, saremo io e te per sempre legati per la vita.
Oh! I love it. I love it. I love it. He just looks so cool, calm and collected, but also, you know me by now. I just really love great singing. He's got a fantastic voice. I always get excited about good singing. So as I say, there's a little bit of crackle coming into the voice. What am I meaning by crackle? This could be brought in by so many different things. This could be, for example, something going on with the vocal folds themselves. But again, I'm not diagnosing or saying anything about anybody. This could be due to the fact that, when you get to the stage of performing, actually you're performing a lot. There's a lot going on and the vocal folds can get a little bit tired. And that's kind of what's causing that little bit of like huskiness in his voice as well. Could also just be that he's always sung like this, and this is just the way that his voice sounds, and it's never caused him any issues. So there's so many different things that come into play, and my job as a vocal coach is to figure out what's going on with the voice. Is this something that the singer actually wants to have in their sound, and how can we accommodate that? So we're noticing though, as he goes higher in the range, it disappears. We'll talk about that in the next break.
Ho sognato figli in una grande casa e superato tutte le difficoltà, perché un amore non è amore per la vita se non affrontato la più ripida salita, e si accenderà la musica e qui ti aspetterò, il più grande giorno ti regalerò, saremo io e te per sempre legati per la vita che...
So he's not actually going very high or very low within his own range. And this is so beautiful to see, that we don't have to have crazy amounts of vocal fireworks in order to even win a contest. It is really, in the end, about it's about a whole bunch of different things, but it doesn't necessarily have to be about crazy vocals. Okay. Now we can see the slightly wider mouth position. He's almost smiling through the whole thing. But what that's going to do is that's raising our cheeks, and that's going to help us to raise the soft palate. It doesn't have to, but it can.
Se non affrontato la più ripida salita, e si accenderà la musica e qui ti aspetterò, il più grande giorno ti regalerò, saremo io e te per sempre legati per la vita che...
There's also a certain brightness about that sound. So the difference with spreading the lips as opposed to bringing the lips forward is going to change the timbre, the color of the sound. So when we have wider lips, this is going to brighten the sound. And when we bring the lips forward, that is going to darken the sound because we're elongating the vocal tract. Again, totally a decision that someone as experienced as Sal is going to be making about his own voice.
Saremo io e te per sempre.
Oh, let's just go back on that because we saw perfect position of the tongue. We have quite a lot of tension in the tongue there, and that's exactly what we want.
E si accenderà la musica e qui ti aspetterò, il più grande giorno ti regalerò, saremo io e te per sempre.
We're seeing so much tension there in the tongue, which is so beautiful to see. Quite a, I always like to say fat and like skinny and high. So we've got the sides of the tongue are coming in from the teeth. We've got quite a lot of tension going on there. And I see this so often online, which honestly is just it's incorrect with the latest research that we have about the tongue and about singing. What happens is when we bring the tongue in, we are actually allowing for better resonance because that also helps us to keep the larynx stable. This is so important for singing that we don't just think about having the tongue loose in the mouth. Because honestly, with the speed at which you are saying the consonants, especially in a language like Italian, we need to have a really strong tongue muscle.
Senza te non vale niente, non ha senso vivere. Con la mano sul petto io te lo prometto, davanti a Dio saremo io e te, da qui sarà per sempre sì. So che una grande incognita è il futuro, ma insieme a te.
This is sort of I just want to like go back and like go to disco. I feel like I should be in the big ball gown, just being like dinner with like some champagne, you know, like with a flat glass. God, I'll just take myself there after I finish recording. This is so cool. Whoa, watch that. Could you see that still there? Look at that tongue position, high on the sides and at the back. That is a beautiful tongue position. Down at the front behind the teeth there. I actually have a lesson for you all about the tongue position. I'll put it down in the description below. But essentially, I will teach you how to do this. This is so important for singing. If we get the tongue high and forward in the mouth, that is the way that we increase our resonance.
Saremo io e te per sempre legati per la vita che senza te non vale niente, non ha senso vivere.
Oh, that's so hard. That's so hard. Vivere. Oh my God, with the E. I said we needed a higher tongue position. And this is where we start to, this is very, this is like difficult coordination of singing, okay? This is when we start to talk about like placement and things like that. But when we've got a really high tongue and we're on a closed vowel like an E, vivere, we need to make sure that we're being quite careful with not going V and squeezing down on the vowel. So it is about opening up, bringing the tongue forward, opening up the vivere. Obviously, it's lower in the range for me, right? So it's a bit easier. But you can see he's opening up the mouth a little bit wider. But did you see he kept the vivere? He kept the same placement through that word. It's actually something I've been working on with quite a lot of the singers inside the academy at the moment, about talking about holding on to the placement and moving. I know that's not a diphthong, but moving through the consonants or the diphthong, because often that can cause either more closure to happen within the mouth, or it can cause the pitch to go off. So vivere, you're basically just going vivere. You're just moving the front part of the mouth, and the tip of the tongue. You're actually keeping the entire back part of the mouth and the vocal fold level in the same position. Where were we, man? I feel we're up here. Takes a while to turn on my piano. I was very close. Okay, I don't have perfect pitch, so I was just guessing. So we've got there, we're up on the B flat 4 there. Now you could hear that there's something else had happened, that he flipped up into a slightly more falsetto sort of sound. Again, that could be a stylistic decision that he's made, but it could also be that there was a little bit too much pressure on the note, like underneath the note beforehand, and then we go and it caused that larger flip to occur. We always want to be making those changes a little bit earlier. And again, like no shade on Sal, like he's won, he's got there. I'm just saying this is quite often what happens in lessons. But he got on the pitch. He like scooped up there. Yeah, you saw that and the holding onto the microphone. That could be firstly due to, I hope I get up on this note. Secondly, but I mean, I think at his level, he knows his own voice, okay? But what we've got there is when we're pulling down on the microphone, can't really do it with this one, pulling down on the microphone, we're engaging the lats to get up to those extra high notes. And I like to say to students as well, too, sometimes when we're pulling up the cheeks, raising the soft palate, and then that can help us with that perception of effort to get up and over the note.
Grande incognita il futuro, ma insieme a te non mi spaventerà, perché costruiremo tutto ma non alzeremo un muro, litigare e far l'amore, poi che male c'è, e si accenderà la musica per te.
I really love that this is just great singing, actually. I mean, and also you have to think about, okay, you might not be on this type of stage, like right at the beginning of your careers, but like this is really what we have to work with right at the beginning. You've got to think about, often you're just literally standing there. It's you and your voice when you're performing. So even when he's lower in the range and going into that second verse, we are in a chest voice quality. So thicker vocal folds, lower down in the range. We've still got loads of thyroid tilt going in there because we're hearing ba da 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 da. He could almost be like Dean Martin in this moment, or like Frank Sinatra, and that warmth is coming to that lower part of the range. Now, this is often associated with classical vocal technique because that amount of thyroid tilt lower on the range is usually what we tend to sort of like see in that crooner era, and that came out of a lot of classical technique being used in singing. It creates that warmth.
Grande incognita è il futuro, ma insieme a te non mi spaventerà perché costruiremo tutto ma non alzeremo un muro, litigare e far l'amore poi che male c'è e si accenderà la
Oh my God, look how many musicians are there. This must have just been so much fun to perform at. There is nothing better than having like the energy of the crowd, but also like the energy of the musicians, and just so much fun. So again, that thyroid tilt is helping him take the chest voice higher in his range. And, you know, I know it sounds like I'm making fun, but I'm not. This is just what we need. This is what so many singers fail to see when they're singing. They don't cry enough. They're not complaining enough with their voices, because this is what we have to have, people. We have to have more thyroid tilt. I teach a lot of singers how to sound more sung with their singing, because it's one thing to hit the notes. It's one thing to be like, oh, okay, I can sing a little bit high, but honestly, without thyroid tilt, your high notes are going to sound like crap. So if you are wanting to learn more about how to make your sound more sung, or actually how to sing higher in your range, because those often go hand in hand, and get that fluidity going on in your voice, then you can apply for my online singing school, the Vocal Academy, because that really does need to be looked at on a one-to-one basis. But you can hear this vibrato coming in the end of the phrases, coloring it there.
E si accenderà la musica, per te io canterò, il più grande giorno ti regalerò. Saremo io e te per sempre, legati per la vita, che senza te non vale niente, non ha senso vivere.
Okay, Sal's been doing this a long time. I don't need to say that. He is doing a really great job of building the energy of the performance without necessarily getting louder. And this is a sign of the ultimate pro, because it isn't always about getting louder in a song. He's getting a little bit louder, but ultimately his energy is changing. His intensity of his consonants are changing. His intensity in the delivery is changing, not getting louder. All those things help us to build a song.
Con la mano sul petto io te lo prometto, saremo io e te.
Can you see that though? He made a different color choice there. And that's what we want to do when we're singing. We're like, oh God, that didn't work the first time. We're going to change it slightly. We went to a slightly thinner vocal fold going further up in the range. We saw a slightly more open position of the mouth there. Honestly, when there is such thing as like, you know, the ultimate kind of version of vocal technique. And then there is the version that comes out sometimes on stage. And sometimes on stage, it's a little bit like, I need to get through this. I need to get through this performance. That can happen to all of us. So we're not going to judge why that's happened. We don't want to judge why he needed to shut his eyes in that moment. Could just be he needed a bit of a wing and a prayer to get up there.
Sempre sì, soltanto sì, per questi giorni e mille altri ancora. Un semplice sì, l'eternità è dentro una parola. Saremo io e te per sempre, legati per la vita, che senza te non vale niente, non ha senso vivere.
think I'm in love with this man. I think I'm in love because this guy's a crooner. That guy's, he knows what he's doing. This is like the ultimate pro. This is definitely not his first rodeo. And it's really showing this year actually at Eurovision. Can you see the security in the performers who are not just like beginner performers? You can hear the stability in their voices. And that's the beauty of the training. That's the beauty of experience. And there's no skipping over that. There's no skipping over the work that needs to go into the muscles in order to have this level of security in the movement and confidence on stage. Let's just go back on that because I want to just have a look at this bridge.
Da qui sarà per sempre sì, soltanto sì, per questi giorni e mille altri ancora. Un semplice sì, l'eternità.
You can hear it's the same vocal quality when he was singing it's the same thing. When we have that much thyroid tilt, we can actually take the vocal folds thin and thick. It doesn't really matter. That is then a volume question that comes into play.
Una parola. Saremo io e te per sempre legati per la vita che senza te non vale niente, non ha senso vivere. Con una mano sul petto io te lo prometto davanti a Dio. Saremo io e te a così sarà per sempre sì.
Okay, I'm not really quite sure what he just said at the end there. Maybe was he like, I'm married? Italians, let me know. What was he saying? I love that moment right at the end of a performance where a performer's just like they become themselves. They're sort of like they've been this magical being on stage and then they kind of become themselves and they're like, thank you. I really enjoyed this in the end. Oh, it's like honestly my favorite moment. They could sing. Obviously the singing is fantastic, but I just like that's like my absolute favorite moment, seeing them kind of become themselves again. Oh, beautiful. I have to say, it's really interesting to see that there wasn't a hell of a lot going on in terms of the vocal kind of things, but this is where it goes to show that actually the sort of the easier songs, and I say easier in terms of the melody, but there's not a lot of vocal fireworks, are actually the hardest to sing. But he captured our attention, he captured our hearts and our ears for the entire length of the song, and that's due to his energy on stage. That wasn't because he started screaming or changing languages and stuff like that. Like this was, I didn't need to understand, the Italian, because I don't, but I didn't need to understand it in order to understand that energy and what he was getting, what he was kind of intending in the song. But we could hear through the whole thing, lots of thyroid tilt. This was standard in singing way back when, because I'm assuming that he's, been around for a long while. So where, as I said earlier in the analysis, that did come out of this idea of Bel Canto, or beautiful singing, and this idea that sort of classical singing technique was like the ultimate way to learn to sing. But actually, did you know that like singing technique, the way that we know it and the way that it started and we understand it, actually came out of Italy, because some of the Italian singing teachers right back when were, as I said, it was called Bel Canto, or beautiful singing, and that was where basically they started writing books about how to sing. And if you're interested in learning, I mean, a little bit, some of it's quite out of date now, but this idea about singing through the straw, keeping this mouth shape and everything is very widely used in the singing world in general. So that's just so fantastic. A lot of what we know about singing, about tongue position, actually comes from as well those beautiful Italian vowels. I know they're similar in most languages, but E, A, R, or U. I like to go E, A, R, or U because it goes from a high tongue position down into a lower tongue position. But this idea of the high tongue, keeping everything very, very economical, all came out of Italy. So thank you, Italy, in general, for giving us so much good music and also so much good vocal technique. I love it. I love it. Oh my goodness me. I was gonna say I've got absolutely no idea who's gonna win. I am like quite flabbergasted. The standard is extremely high this year. And what a wonderful array of amazing music. So let me know down in the comments who you think is gonna win. Who should I have a look at next? I'm doing my best to have a look at everyone. I'm doing my absolute best, and then I'll have a look at all of the final performances. Whew, wish me luck, because there's like a lot of them. Okay. Do me a huge favor though. So many of you are not subscribed to the channel. Honestly, it really helps me massively. I teach singing. I've done so for about, well, actually 18 years coming up. And I really want to help more people like yourself with their vocal technique, because I am obsessed with vocal technique, if you didn't already get that idea. And if you actually want to learn how to sing better, some of the stuff I'm talking about in this video, relatively difficult, but everybody can get there. Absolutely anyone can learn to sing. Well, I can teach anybody to learn to sing. I will say that myself. So you can apply for singing lessons down in the description below. See you later. Ciao bella, ciao bello. Cagiteado.